So hopefully we're live.
Yeah.
We just, if you notice that we're trying with some headphones and stuff, trying to
up our game 1%.
1%. That's about all you're going to get. Hopefully it's a full 1%, but we never use these little buttons over here. So occasionally, like if we do something that's pretty cool, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So apparently you're the judge of what's cool and what's not.
Yeah. I don't think I have a button for,
Wah, wah.
I need one of those. No, that's not it.
No.
So I'll have to work on
We need
that
a
one.
wah button.
We do. Okay. So one of us is majorly distracted right now.
What's going on with you?
It's not me. It's not me. So hopefully we can keep her, on task for a little while because almost immediately.
I have a hot date.
Yeah, almost immediately after we sign off, she's going to get in the car to go see Little Man, and she's on the grandma duty for tonight.
Yeah, 24 hours.
24 hours?
Roughly. I just found out that we're meeting at the library.
Oh, wow.
So one of his favorite places to go, and we get videos every week of him literally climbing bookshelves. So I'm going to get to go see it in person.
It's not really about the reading then, is it?
It is. He does love the books, and he does love story time, but he also loves to climb. I think he's going to be a lot like his uncle. Well, his mom is a tree climber too, so yeah.
Repeller, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever the proper word is, she'll crash.
Well, she climbed trees. She jumps out of trees, all the stuff.
Zip line.
Yeah. So
certified and stuff that is dangerous.
She is, and I'm sure that he will continue in her footsteps there.
Yep, can't even,
He's not walking yet.
He's not walking, but she built him a swing, so,
Yeah.
She built it, by the way, so.
She did. Well, they did. It from the video, it looked like Little Man was supervising everything. He was just sitting on a 4x4, watching.
Yeah, I told him. He's in charge of quality control, so.
We'll see. I'll send you footage of the finished product. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, if it's rickety, then we're going to have a talk.
Okay.
But, I use a term that she's distracted, but we actually have asked ourselves, is it really and truly, is it more that she's, getting our priorities straight? Didn't you say it's been a month?
Yeah. Actually, the funny thing was, I think I mentioned this to you, but within the same 24-hour period of time, I had the realization that I had not gone to see him in at least 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't realize it had been a month. The next morning, I didn't say anything to you, but the next morning you mentioned that I had not seen him in a while, and when was I going to go? And just before we had that conversation, Kaylee and Spence had a conversation too, and they were kind of joking with little dude and saying, "Hey, has it really been a month since you've seen Mimi?" And then they both realized, wow, it has been a month and we need to fix that. So all the adults in the situation said it was time for Mimi to go visit Little Man.
Yeah, Mimi is your chosen.
My chosen. Well, is
it a placeholder?
It's a placeholder because...
Yeah, because the opposite of Mimi is pee-pee, and I don't want to be pee-pee.
You don't have to be pee-pee, and he can call you whatever he wants to. I'm sure if it's Paw or he can call me Mama, Meemaw, whatever. He can call me. He can call me Hope if he wants, but whatever he chooses will be my name. But for now, I'm Mimi Hope, or just Mimi, and we'll see what Teddy or what little dude decides.
Yeah, I have one name that I am considering.
You do.
But,
do tell.
I don't know. I'm kind of not sure if I really want to put too much thought into it in case he does choose something else. Because
What is it?
No, not telling you. But in the whatever it's called, comments below, I need some suggestions.
Oh, we need a grandpa name for Michael. So, by the way, little man is our first grandchild, and
He should set the tone for the names.
that's true. Yeah, and
Yeah, I have
as long
my-
as the following grandchildren get the name right.
I had a older cousin on my mom's side, and he came up with a pretty whack name for my grandfather, and we stuck to
Well, I
it.
was wondering if maybe that was the name that you wanted to use.
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
because that doesn't make any sense to anybody but our
I
family.
had a lot of older cousins who named one of my grandmothers Biggie Mama. And of the older group of cousins, they all called her Biggie Mama, but then there was another cousin that came like in the middle. And what she heard was Piggy Mama. So my grandmother was Piggy Mama to her for the majority of her life until we came along, and we were the youngest of the grandkids. And so we called her grandmother. So grandmother. And her husband, my grandfather, decided he just wanted to be Mark. So we were not allowed, according to my dad, it's like you cannot call your grandfather by his first name. You have to call him Granddaddy. So we compromised, and he was Granddaddy Mark. So, or Daddy Mark.
Daddy Mark.
Daddy Mark. So anyway,
Well,
but priorities.
priorities. I mean, that's something that if you're just starting out, or if you're just thinking about starting out, you really need to think about your priorities first. Most people don't. Most people jump in and they want to have priorities later, which is
I don't know. Do you
it's kinda
think
too late? What?
Do you think that like for us, we made a move to eBay because of the priorities that we had? We thought, oh, we can do this and accomplish what we wanted, but it's really easy to slip off one side or the other once you're in the midst of it. Like, you become way more committed to eBay than the priorities that you said were your priorities to begin with.
Yeah.
Do you think that happened to us?
Well, I don't know. For us, you were doing something totally different, so
Yeah.
it was my priority. I was looking for something that I could physically do based on the health, which is better. It's not great, but it's better than it was. And I had tried and explored a bunch of different options. And so, my priority was to try to make an income. And at the time, really wasn't looking at it to be our sole income, but that was my priority. And it's different than someone who maybe is already doing something and they want to transition out of it into this part-time and then full-time later. But we just had a different set of circumstances. We had to jump in both feet. And so it became full-time for both of us quickly, probably more quickly than I would recommend for
Most people, yeah.
most people. But
We don't do anything the easy way, though.
no,
So-
but to be honest, if you're going to try something, you need to try it. You need to get in there and you need to do it. And then if it doesn't work out and you're not having any fun, or if you're not making any money, then you need to pivot quickly. Most people will hang on too long and think, oh man, this is a fine line.
Yeah, I was about to
I have to
say.
be careful how to say this because we weren't really making a ton of money doing this.
We aren't making a ton of
We're
money.
still not, especially this month. This month of March I'm ready for
It's
it to
been,
be.
yeah,
I'm ready for April.
it's been a little bit, it's just been up and down, very up and down. But
But-
I'm sorry.
You're distracted. So, the thing is that, see, now you got me distracted. It is. It is.
What were you saying?
What I was saying was, think about what your priorities are. So, I just recently I watched somebody, and they had grown their eBay store to be a big store,
Yeah.
and they were capable of doing this by themselves. So
One person.
one person,
I'm sure that I don't
solely
think
by
the spouse
themselves.
was
The
involved.
spouse was really not involved. They had income. All that to say is that it was a one person band, and then decided, hey, let's up our game. And in the midst of upping the game, started switching platforms
From eBay to
from eBay
another.
to Whatnot. Whatnot, we did Whatnot for about a week or two. And
We
then
did it
we're
for
like,
about a week just so we tried it, and it wasn't terrible.
well, it's not terrible, but it's totally
But a
different
very,
than eBay.
yeah,
So
you're not using the same muscles.
I mean, it's very not negative one or the other, but your approach, what you source, how you source, it's just two different animals. And so for us, because at the time we were super rookie,
Right. I
with
mean, I think
eBay.
we'd only been to eBay just a couple of weeks.
and so we were like, okay, let's put Whatnot on a back burner for a while, and we may at some point do some live stuff, but you can now do live stuff on eBay. So
Yeah.
totally different subject. But the point is, once this person made this switch, which is kind of a different animal, then it was too much for one person. Then it moved from just one person to both spouses were involved. And then it was an initial employee. Then it was another employee. So now there's like two employees involved. Who knows?
And
I think there's virtual assistants.
wholesale
and
buyers.
all
and-
kinds of other
yeah.
things. And so now all of a sudden, now we got to restart the eBay store again because we need eBay to pay for all the employees. So they're in a different situation. They're obviously younger than we are. So, kudos to them. They can do this for a while. But if you're in your 40s and you're starting to look at your 50s, and we're now looking at the 60s, is that we can't do that anymore. And that's a hard. I don't think we ever had a midlife crisis. I just had a health
No.
crisis that
Right.
was in the middle of my life. Let's hope it's the middle.
Well, I do think that
She didn't say that.
you're. Stop. It was. Now you made me lose my train
She's
of thought.
distracted.
No, yes, I am distracted, pleasantly distracted. But I think we have to. We're looking to build a business that is simple, and there's nothing simple about a warehouse and employees and two different platforms and all of that. That's not to say that what that reseller is doing is wrong. We just need to know, and I think we all individually need to know what our objective is. Our objective for us is simple business, simple life, not the complication and not the stress, because that's what we were looking to get away from.
Yeah. I had enough of that.
Right. So kudos to anybody who wants to take on all of that. But the problem for us too, and the reason why we really started to dive into YouTube is because we were listening to gurus that we didn't necessarily want to emulate. And they say the best way to learn is to find someone who's doing it the way you want to do it, and the success that they're having is what you're looking for. And but those gurus were they're light years down the road from where we are, and they're also heading in a direction that we don't want to go in. So we're looking for simple eBay reselling community,
Yeah. And
and it's not out there that
Well,
we know of.
if you're aware of one,
Yeah, if you're aware of one, tell us, because
let us know.
we'll gladly join in. But what we're looking for is people who are looking to build a reasonable business that can be managed by one person or one couple. And our goal in doing this as a couple was that we would build a business that either one of us could continue on alone if that were the need.
Yeah, which let's come back to that because we
Okay.
just, we just saw that just recently happen to someone. But we fell prey to the homesteading community when we were looking for, how do you do this? And so we watched all the gurus who were way down the road, and they had tons of animals, and they had farm equipment and infrastructure and
All the toys.
They had all the things.
And all the animals.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
when we got out here to 26 acres that had, this, we call it the chalet, but it's basically a two-car garage, big two-car garage with a one-bedroom above it. Foundation for a humongous house that will never get built, but
Or not by us.
but what we fell prey to was, we got the chickens, let's go get the pigs, let's go get the goats, let's go get the, and even when we were looking, I'm probably more guilty than she is, but when we went to go get just 2 pigs, I ended up with 4.
I thought we were going to get one.
Well,
Yeah.
little did you know. Because I was working on negotiating a deal, if I could get 2 for this price, well, how much could I get 4? And that
Right.
brings down the overhead price. And anyway, doing 2 pigs is one thing. Doing 1 pig is one thing. Doing 4
4 is a different game.
different game. And that changes whole kinds of stuff like, vehicles and trailers and pens and shelters and food.
Food storage.
Yeah, we're way down in the animal department right now, but still, the amount that we spend at the feed store is a lot of money. A lot of money for
Pretty much matches what we spend on groceries right now.
Yeah, and our layers have got to get busy with getting us some more eggs. But
Well, I don't think the fault is the layers. I think the fault is we have livestock guardian dogs who are finding the eggs before we do. So
that's a good
Yeah.
point because they're bored because we don't
They
have
don't
all
have
the
enough
livestock
animals.
for them. And that's a whole separate different thing. But that's when you start going down a road that you shouldn't go. Then you get more things than you really should be getting, and you've
Right.
made this more complicated. And so we really encourage people to think about their priorities first. And in doing so, I mean, this applies to whatever business you're thinking about getting into. Like, what is it really going to entail? I mean, when we were younger, we had a construction business, and we had, depends on the day and the hour, sometimes
if it was a lunch break
a half
or
hour. But we had about, 18 to 20 employees. What's the max we always had? 18?
I think I want to say it was like 15. We averaged about 15 for a while.
Well, I think that
But that was
she's
not-
thinking consistently.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking like how many paychecks did we?
Right.
Yeah, because
but-
we had some employees that came and went a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Some people didn't make it the whole afternoon, so that's a different story. And it's funny to think about back then how we used to have to go about running an ad in the newspaper
Very different day.
And-
Very, very, very.
and having conversations at night and giving them an address that they had to MapQuest to come find us.
Nothing didn't have MapQuest.
Oh yeah, we just had
You just
to,
knew where things were.
well,
or you had a
that-
map in your
that and
glove
the
compartment.
State Farm Atlas. That was how you found everything. Not even
If you
MapQuest.
remember what the State Farm Atlas was, because people who work for State Farm now don't even know that. If you remember having a State Farm Atlas when you were growing up or when you were
Put a-
younger,
put a
because we
thumbs
had one.
up down
Yeah,
in the
give us a thumbs up. Comment below. I had one because I recently did work for State Farm for a couple of months, and I mentioned it, and the other employees looked at me like, "What is that?" So, anyway.
Well, for what we were doing, and we at first I started doing multiple different things, and eventually what I ended up is I niched down into custom framing.
Okay, we're talking about construction days.
Mr. Distracted. And it took a bunch of guys. We were building, 10,000
Big
square
houses.
foot plus
Yeah.
multi-million-dollar homes back then. And took a lot of guys. But I had a friend, all he did was install shoe mold. If you don't know what shoe mold is, quarter round, it's the little stuff that goes around the baseboard that covers the gap between the baseboard and the flooring if you have hardwood or vinyl or something like that. That's all he did. You don't even put that throughout the whole house because
No.
if it's a carpeted room,
You don't put, okay.
so this is all he did.
Uh-huh.
Guess what? He had a van, he had a couple tools, and himself. His life was not complicated.
Uh-huh.
And
And
he
his
did-
stress level was,
Yeah. And so what we want to warn people of, you watch too many of the big gurus. And the funny thing is, if you watch a bunch of them, you'll see some of them have reached a point where they're like, okay, I made my money, I'm out. I'm done.
yeah.
And they've gotten
I've
out
seen
and
that.
shut down, the big warehouses and all that kind of stuff.
And
because-
now they're just coaches or
yeah. Or
they're investing in other
they're telling
things.
you can do this too,
Yeah.
kind of deal. So
I don't want to do that. I don't want a warehouse. I don't want employees. I don't want multiple platforms. I don't want to have to ship out hundreds of items a day to support a lifestyle that is, not what we're looking for. So,
Well, I think kind of going back to what you almost brought up is a video we just recently watched of someone who is a
she's a reseller
By
and
herself.
a YouTuber.
Sure.
And we honestly thought it was a clickbait video, but we watched it together, and wow, it was
not.
It was not. And she just recently lost her husband suddenly, and it's kind of one thing when you have a family member, a parent or something, and you know that the time is approaching. But when you lose a spouse and it is completely unexpected, it just stops your world. And that's clearly where she is right now. And she's asking herself all the questions that we would be if we were in her shoes. Like, what do I do? Do I stay where I am? Do I need to go get another job? Do I need to continue doing what I'm doing? Do I need this house? How can I afford this house? Why should I live in this big a house? So, just lots of things to consider. And what keeps going through my mind is it's easy for us to think that when things slow down and when I retire and when we get through these days, then we'll finally have time together. And, we're not guaranteed. We're not guaranteed for things to slow down or to get better or whatever. And it's just really up to us to do what we can to slow it down, to really, to work on the marriage that we want and to work on the lifestyle that we want. And not everything is about bigger and better and, loftier, but simpler, for us. So, it was it was a wake-up call in a lot of ways to see someone, and I think she may even be a couple of years younger than us. So,
Yeah, the big
Yeah.
deal is that changes were being made with his work scenario, and he was just, starting to have the conversation about, soon
Hey.
I'll be able to
Yeah.
spend more time with you and do this with you and that kind of stuff. And those days they'll never be. We're not
No.
promised tomorrow. Today may be your last or my last, and in that scenario, you need to enjoy the time you have while you have it. It's easy, like we've had a terrible March. It's easy for us to go, if we just get through this month. Oh, next month will be better. You know what? Maybe it won't.
no.
So why waste this month having that attitude? And the only way that you can be, flexible in that scenario is that you've really thought through your priorities. And so if you're not saying, I'm going to do this for 5 years or 10 years, and then I'll have fun. Well,
That time may not come. So, the better solution then is to enjoy what you have right now. If your spouse is, still sitting beside you, enjoy each other and, make it a priority. I would say for us, and first of all, let me just say eBay is not our savior. eBay is not the answer for everybody, but eBay is a platform and it is a means that God has used for us to provide us an income, to provide us something that we are working on together. And it has enriched our marriage because it has allowed us to see each other through a different lens and to see the gifting that we both have and to learn to better communicate. We're working together, so we have to communicate clearly. And everything that we don't agree on is not a personal attack, which I tend to take things as an attack. But learning to slow down and communicate well what we're trying to say and understand that I'm not attacking you, you're not attacking me. This is something that we did that was wrong, and what do we need to do to fix it? And
Good gravy. There's something new every week.
there is. But it's opportunity for us to work on those things, to work on, the communication part of everything and the celebration, and to celebrate the days where we have 5 sales. Instead of saying what we need to have is more than that. God has provided daily, and I think that that's kind of the way God is using eBay to grow us, is that we are truly learning to depend on getting our daily bread, because there's no way to know what the sales are going to be from day to day. And so I personally, I would say it has grown me a lot in learning to have faith and peace, no matter what the circumstances are. There are going to be a lot of times that we get messages or returns or, issues that we need help with tech, that it's tempting to be discouraged, or it's tempting to be hot-headed and, comment with snippy remarks. But that doesn't help us. And if we learn to control that, then we're growing in it.
Yeah. And, if you, so this goes back to the priority deal. If you take on too much, maybe you don't even like this. Well, then you've gone in deep now. You don't like it, and you want out. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot more than taking a picture of something and writing a description. And so,
especially if you don't enjoy you don't have an appreciation for what the item is.
And so if you're thinking about considering this, well, the positive side of this is that if you say, you know what, I really love to do something with my spouse where, we can work together. And this is not passive, by the way, so don't think that this is, not work. It's work. But then you can strive towards that, and you can move towards that. But that being a goal, you're going to have to make probably a lot of hard decisions along the way in order to make that happen. But if you're not, you don't even have a priority. You just, hustle culture has got you pulled into yet another thing that you might can make another nickel somewhere else. Then,
I don't know. I think hustle culture, the priority is the priority is money, and it's all about the money, and if the money is what you're all about, then there's no way to just simply do that with eBay if that's the primary goal.
Yeah. So, we've really been personally working on priorities. I've struggled with the whole concept of, if we list 10 items today and this is how many, okay, well, let's up it to 20 kind of deal. But if we start doing double the amount of listings, it's also a double amount of a whole bunch of other things.
Right.
And of course, we had a wake up call the last 2 weeks. We really didn't have any money to go sourcing
No.
because our sales were that bad. Well, then what if you committed to doing, 20, 30, 40, but you'd have zero money to go and source anything? Well, then that's a big problem. But probably for us, since we had 2 weeks where we really couldn't do any sourcing at all, and then this week was pretty light. We kept it pretty basic.
We ended up with a lot more than we thought. So it did show us that, you know what, you didn't have to spend as much money every week in order to have what you need to list.
And also,
Yeah.
we had plenty of stuff that, that still needed to be listed that we had.
Right. The profit pile.
Yeah. And so we had stuff to pull from that. We also spent a lot more time. I think I discussed this a little bit last time, but we spent a lot more time on going through old listings. And some of that's been a little bit depressing, to be honest, because I'm thinking, why? And it was my fault. Why did I pick that
But
up?
here's what you need to think. Not, how terrible those listings are. You need to celebrate. Those listings were so bad. Look at where we are now. We've grown a lot. That's something to celebrate.
Yeah, tell me that last week.
When you were up to your eyeballs in bad listings, and I mean, everything has gotten better.
Yeah. So, I fixed pictures, I fixed listings, I changed a lot of things that we've talked about previously. And I've kind of put notes in our custom SKU to say, okay,
Pull.
I'm
Next time around.
and next time around, if I hit this again, then it's time to pull it. And we may need to pull some of those things sooner than later. But it is encouraging, like she said, to see the new things that we are sourcing now and how we're being better at leaving some stuff behind. We only got what we needed. So
Exactly.
instead of saying, oh, well, we could just fill up 2-3 buggies up full of stuff.
God gave us our manna,
Yeah. And so we put a lot of stuff back, and I'm grateful because the more I work on the older listings, the more I'm think, oh yeah, I would have bought those things.
Right. And I'm very thankful because I was doubling up on, preparing drafts and photos for the listings for the next 2 days. Trying to get better about being ahead, and I know I'm going to be away for the next 24 hours. So the compromise and the agreement was that I would have 2 days worth of listings done. But because we had picked better items, I didn't have to stop and replace things. What I pulled out to photograph, I was able to photograph and didn't have repairs or stains that I had to stick something back and replace it with something else. So that's a huge progress. And that increases productivity when you are picking better items and you don't have to go back and repair everything.
Yeah, and we did make a hard decision. This is the second time we've done it. We scaled back a little bit more on new listings. And so that the total number of new listings and in-listing sell similars that we had before, if we take off, 1 or 2 new ones, then I do 1 or 2 more of the
listing sell similar.
To make up for that. But then I tried to do too many, and that
just overwhelmed you.
And then that starts to defeat the purpose again. But interestingly enough, don't let someone tell you that by doing in-listing sell similar that it doesn't work, because regularly things that I have fixed the listings about 5 days ago, it sells.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't hurt that some of them are a little more summer related, but that's not been the case of all the ones.
We have a lot of short sleeve shirts that are still sitting in bins.
Yeah,
so.
and I haven't even gotten to those yet, as far as my
Working
system
them out.
of working those out. So the other part of this that I think people fall prey to is that most people say, well, if your sales are down, you just need to list more. And here's my opinion about that, is that if you have bad listings, listing more bad listings is not going to help.
No.
And I'm not even talking about necessarily the bad products, which that's what I was guilty of in the beginning. But if the way that you list things is bad, then doing twice as many is twice as bad. And we have really been fixing our listings, and I see down the road where that's really going to start to pay off. The other part of this is that if we would continue to niche down a little bit, then it gets easier because we've done this shirt several times now, so we can go to one of our good listings.
Exactly.
So that being said, I thought that was a cha-ching, but it's not.
No, it wasn't.
And so you need to think about spending more time on your business, or at least try to spend some time on your business, because most people are spending most of the time in their business. And what that is that you went from 10 to 20 listings, but you didn't fix anything. And so now you've got a garage full of bad inventory, and you've got stuff that's just never going to sell. Remember, people, we're not in the storage business. And neither are the places that we're getting it, which is why we got such a great deal on it, because they needed it off their floor.
To go away.
So this is what we've also used this bad
Downtime.
Yeah, let's call it downtime.
Well, it's
bad sell time to fix.
Yeah. And so I don't think low sales necessarily has to be a bad thing. I mean, obviously we want to keep making money, but I think when the sales are low, it's the perfect opportunity for us to make improvements.
Yeah.
So, and to have the energy for that.
I've at least heard one person say this, and I need to really go back and find. Someone mentioned it's a formula for your store and that kind of stuff, and I need to find where someone else mentioned that. But I did hear at least one person say that if you're listing 10 items a day and you're only selling one, you need to scroll back or roll back how many you're actually listing, because
we haven't figured that out, though. What is that formula?
Yeah.
So if you have any idea what it is, like how many you should be listing per day if your sales are X, Y, whatever.
Yeah, because there's something similar, like, when people are in a church and they're like, okay, well, you could have, 100 people in your congregation. That's what the building will handle. Well, if you've got about 80 people in there, it's probably not going to grow any more than that. And so it's time to consider what you're going to do. You're going to plant another church, or you're going to add on to the existing building. And I have an opinion about that. But the scenario that we find ourselves in, especially for the month of March, listing more and selling less was a bad combination. And we were just piling stuff up, not piling stuff up. Our bins were growing taller and taller.
I was about to say we weren't able to get our new listing inventory processed and in our storage situation because we were working so much on the listings. So we've done the unpopular thing and cut back on what we were listing.
Yeah, and we're not really sure how much more as far as storage goes. I think, what are we at? 2,200 items currently active.
Something roughly like that, yeah.
Currently active. We're not really sure how much bigger we want to be because our bins are, at head height. So we're not young, and getting those down and getting what we need is not easy.
It's been a workout. I don't have to do weights.
But, and we also, our items are in a, climate controlled environment. Well, we can't just put a container out there and throw stuff in there because that's not going to do well for our items. So we're semi-limited on how much space, but once again, we don't want a warehouse.
Right.
So these are our priorities. You may be living in a totally different situation.
I think that if someone is starting or they're growing a new store, that's a really important thing to think about is how much room do you have to devote to this? And specifically, how much room do you have to devote to the storage of items? And whatever that comfortable amount is needs to be where you set your cap. Like, I don't want my store to get bigger than what I have the amount of space to store.
Well, we've never wanted to have an external, like, drive down to the storage buildings.
No.
We never wanted to do that. And that would be a major pain. I just would hate it if that's what we had to do.
Right.
But there's plenty of people that's how they start off. They don't have any room to put anything in.
So they use the storage.
So they have to do that. Well, then 1 turns into 2, and 2 turns into 4. 4 turns into 5. Then you start adding up how much money you're spending on storage buildings.
Storage is expensive.
It is, and if you don't come from retail, or it doesn't make a difference what business you're in, that's overhead.
Yeah.
So then people are like, oh, the solution to this is we'll just buy a bigger house, and it's going to have a monster basement, or a monster pole barn or whatever on it. Well, guess what? That costs you more money. You're going to have to heat and cool that. You got power for all that. There's property insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And not enough people do the math to figure out, I need to stop here. Because they don't have any priorities. Their priority is money. But if their priority was money, they do the math.
Right. So if you are limited, let's just say you're limited to a 10 by 10 bedroom, and you are, whatever the item is you're selling, let's say you're doing clothes, then once you start approaching, like, I can't max out, I can't add too much more, like, should you, instead of continuing on with the items that you're doing, like, transition to having fewer items that are worth more? So you're storing, like, I feel like that's what our goal is. Like, we have our price point, our average sales price is not, it's below $30 an item. So
A lot.
yeah. Well, so, but our goal, correct me if I'm wrong in this, is to transition to, let's up the sales price, or the average sales price of items, so that over time we're not growing in the number of listings, but we're growing in our dollar amount.
Which is not hard for us to do, because if you
Right.
look at the
'Cause
stuff that I bought in the beginning, it's not worth $5. So, it's not hard to get nicer items. But it's not quite as simple as that. There are a lot of factors to think about. One being, what can you actually find?
Oh, that's true. I didn't.
Or what are you comfortable shipping? Because there's plenty of people that say, I'm just going to go out. I know 1 or 2 people that they get all the stuff that most of us will walk by and go, nope, that's too big and too heavy, and they
Not
move
gonna
on.
ship.
So that's what they do. They focus on that, but they don't have any problem
They
building
don't have a lot of
truck.
competition either,
Well,
because we're all looking for easy. But stressing, shipping did stress me out, and I shared that in the video a few days ago, that was one of the things that really could have held me back from even attempting eBay, was that the shipping part stressed me out.
So, where you have to think about all these things, you would think, oh, well, what I'll do is I'll sell baseball cards, or I'll sell postcards, and, go for it. I would be well, A, I don't know anything about baseball cards, but B, I would have zero interest in doing postcards. They don't take up any room.
No.
Super easy to ship. But guess what? I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people out there doing that.
I don't know.
So what's your competition like? We don't do that, so we don't know. But maybe that's all the room you have for it. Maybe if you're, a lady who loves creating homemade jewelry, and you've got a small place and you got plenty of room to keep that kind of stuff, that's fine. But like for us, it's a big deal to go from a shirt to a blazer.
Right. There's a definite price difference in the shipping, and the way you ship it is different.
And how you store it.
Yeah.
It's not as easy
Storage
to store.
is different too.
So, and we have even harder things to think about if that's something that we're going to spend more time on. But, you pick your battles based on, hey, I can source this.
I can source it.
And it sells.
It sells. It's easy to ship, or I can manage the shipping, because I think some people are able to buy those big and bulky things because there's not a lot of competition in it. So the number of people that are willing to deal with the shipping is fewer.
Yeah.
And
So I highly encourage you, whether you're just considering doing this or you're already doing it, that you try to find some time to think through your priorities. Before it gets any bigger, or before you start and go down a road that you wish you hadn't gone down.
right. What if you're in the position where you already have multiple warehouses or storage facilities and you've got employees? It is really difficult to go backwards.
It is.
So-
I mean, when we had, 15, 20 employees, we were responsible for their paycheck. And this is how their families paid their bills, ate, and it was all on us. And guess what happened?
Right.
A lot of times we didn't get a paycheck
Yeah.
to make sure they got
But you
always got
do-
a paycheck. But
You do, if you bring on employees, obviously you're responsible for taking care of yourself, but bringing them on and creating that dependency on that paycheck becomes a responsibility, for you. And like you said, there were a lot of times back when we were younger and we had that construction company, there were many weeks where we wrote paychecks to pay employees and we did not get one for ourselves.
and we know from experience that the employee will never care as much about your business as you do.
Right.
So keep that in mind, because your quality will go down. Just how it is. They don't care.
No.
That's not their business.
No.
So
Well, it's
it's-
like a rented house versus one that you own. You're going to take care of it differently when you own it.
So there's the downside of that. And if you want to hear more about that, leave us a comment. We'll do the downside of that. But then there's the plus side of that as well. Because over a long period of time, a very long period of time, I personally had a bunch of guys who initially started didn't even know what a hammer was or which end to hold. And they later became either self-employed themselves or were highly sought after from other companies. So there was something about that. But so be careful when you're watching the gurus,
Yeah.
when you're listening to us or anybody else.
We by far are not gurus.
No.
So.
And the importance of knowing where you want to be down the road, because say your goal is so that you can travel a lot. Well, you can't travel easily if you have an eBay store.
No. So,
What's your priority?
Yeah. Knowing what your priority is. I think, too, when you set like a dollar amount goal or inventory goal or whatever, the temptation is to watch every day, and if the numbers aren't going in the right direction, to get stressed over that. But looking toward, like you were saying, looking to what you want in the end, the amount of space you want to have, the dollar amount you're hoping for, and see that things are working in that trajectory, because from one day to the next, 2 sales one day and 10 sales one day look very different. But over time, if they're heading in the direction of where we want to be, like if our 90-day sales total is continuing to track in the right direction, it's easier to do that and stay encouraged than it is to focus on what's happening just today.
Well, on that note, we did go to that meeting last week. There's some
yeah.
things about that we'll talk about later. It really was a meeting set up for people who have been approved to be like community coordinator type things.
Yeah, which they're changing the name of apparently
so-
sometime soon. But
And there's about 15 different options, so they don't have a decision about that yet. But we will talk more about our community, which is an eBay approved community. It's not the same thing as some of the other different kinds of communities you could be in. This is for
eBay seller community.
Yeah, and it will definitely be virtual as well as some local stuff that we'll do. And it can be for people who have been doing this for a long time and just want other people to hang out with.
Right. Hopefully we do get some people that have been in it for a while, because if we're relying on our expertise, then it's limited.
But the other half is, if you're considering this and you want to be like, I don't know where to start, and if it's not like the community costs you anything.
No, it's free.
But you can join, and maybe you're not even doing
A seller, no.
Yeah, we talked to or listened to one lady share that they had a brand new person come to they had an in-person meeting, and the brand new person sat down with several people in the room. And before they left the meeting, this woman had a store up and running. And they did all the things that she needed to do.
Because she was in one space and she had all these people with experience around her.
And
So
she knocked it out.
that's
So
the beauty of
yeah,
community.
a lot of neat things that we discussed that the more we dig in and send information back and forth, that we'll start sharing in the future. But I know Mimi is ready to head out the door, and little man is waiting patiently for her to get there. So on that note, I think we will check out, and because she's been checked out, she did better than I thought she would do. And I had a sound effect for closing out, and I don't remember which button it is. So
No.
anyway, please take an opportunity down in the comments below and let us know some stuff that you would like to discuss in the future. We have a plan of doing some stuff for some of the newbies who are just considering it, but also we fixed a lot of problems this week that we'd like to discuss in the future lives as well. So let us know if you think we're going too long or too short. Or
Yeah, but let us know if this is helpful or encouraging at all for you. I feel like it would be for us, and what we are looking to do is to be the solution, or to be what we were looking for in the beginning, and what we're still looking for too right now, is that we're looking for people who are operating their business the way we want to, and that is small scale, enjoyable, but profitable as well. But also realizing too that none of us we're not going to have identical stores, and we're not going to be able to provide anybody a formula that's a guarantee for success. But we just want to share the journey and to encourage other people. So I hope that that's what we've done today.
All right. On that note,
We'll catch you guys on the next one.
see ya.